news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. His Excellency the Minister responsible for Foreign Affairs meets Syrian opposition delegation in New York within the Sultanate's quest for the settlement of Syrian crisis. Washington and Moscow failed to achieve resumption of a truce in Syria, whilst airstrikes continue in Aleppo. And the Charlotte mayor enacts a curfew and members of the National Guard arrive to guard the city. Those are the headlines, and now for the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Qaboos has sent a cable of greetings to His Excellency President José Mario Vaz of Guinea-Bissau on the occasion of his country's independence anniversary. Within the Sultanate's endeavour for a political settlement of the Syrian crisis, His Excellency Yusuf bin Alawi bin Abdullah, Minister responsible for Foreign Affairs, met at the premises of the Sultanate's permanent mission to the United Nations in New York with the Syrian opposition delegation. The meeting came on the sideline of the convening of the 71st session of the General Assembly of the United Nations. The chairman of the National Coalition, Anas al-Abda, who attended the meeting, praised the significant role being played by the Sultanate to reach a political solution for the Syrian crisis. He added that the Sultanate, with its distinguished and balanced relations with all parties and its civilization and cultural legacy, can play a great role in achieving a political solution in Syria. His Excellency Yusuf bin Alawi bin Abdullah also met with Kerry Adler, Chairman of the Business Council for International Understanding, and a number of the Council members. They discussed aspects of cooperation between the Sultanate and the Council, especially with regard to enhancing relations between the Sultanate and economic gathering around the world. His Excellency Sheikh Khalifa Al-Harthi, Sultanate's permanent representative to the United Nations in New York, stressed the importance of this meeting and reviewed the investment incentives in the Sultanate. The chairman of the Business Council for International Understanding also said that the meeting was a great chance to encourage member companies of the Council to explore promising opportunities in the Sultanate. At a meeting of the International Syria Support Group on the sidelines of the annual UN Gathering of World Leaders, UN Peace Envoy Staffan de Mistura said yesterday failed talks were long, painful and disappointing, and warned of escalating violence on the ground. He further said,
humanitarian access. That is what makes a difference for the people, apart from seeing no more bombs or mortar shelling taking place. On that one, we have a problem. Those facilitation letters, i.e. final permission for the UN to actually reach those areas, has not been received. That's a fact. It is particularly regrettable because normally during these days we are losing time. These are days which we should have used for convoys to move with the permit to go, because there is no fighting. The Russian Federation is agreeing with us about this, so are the two co-chairs. This is something that requires to take place immediately.
Meanwhile, on the subject, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry had this to say.
So make no mistake, the United States will continue to pursue every avenue of progress that we can, because it is the only way to stop the killing, it's the only way to ease the suffering, and it's the only way to make possible the restoration of a united Syria. And because if we do not succeed in doing this one way or the other, this catastrophic situation is going to get even worse. But at the same time, we can't go out to the world and say we have an agreement when we don't. Nor can we tell our partners that there is a cessation when there isn't. The simple reality is that we can't resolve a crisis if one side is unwilling to do what is necessary to avoid escalation.
Warplanes targeted rebel-held areas of eastern Aleppo in a second day of heavy bombardment, hours after the army announced the start of a military operation there. The Syrian military said it was starting a new operation against the rebel-held East, which is home to at least 250,000 people and was also targeted in heavy airstrikes yesterday. The Syrian military could not immediately be reached for comment today, and there was no word on casualties. The head of the Civil Defense Rescue Service in eastern Aleppo told reporters that a squadron of 5 warplanes was in the skies over the city, saying that a fresh wave of bombings had started this morning after heavy overnight attacks. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights reported at least 30 airstrikes had targeted different areas of Aleppo from midnight. Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan accused the United States of supplying more weapons to Kurdish fighters in northern Syria this week, saying Washington had delivered 2 plane loads of arms to what Ankara consider a terrorist group. Turkey is part of the US-led coalition against the Daesh group, but views the Syrian Kurdish YPG and its PYD political wing as an extension of Kurdish militants, who have waged a 3-decade insurgency on its own soil. The United States, which sees the YPG as a major strategic partner in the fight against Daesh group in Syria, airdropped weapons to the group in the largely Kurdish town of Kobani in 2014. Kobani was besieged by Daesh for 4 months in late 2014 and is about 35 kilometers east of the Syrian border town of Jablus, which Turkey-backed rebels seized a month ago in an operation dubbed Euphrates Shield. A third night of protests over a fatal police shooting in Charlotte gave way to quiet streets early today, after the city's mayor enacted a curfew and rifle-toting members of the National Guard arrived to guard the city. The largely peaceful night demonstrations called on police to release the video that could resolve widely different accounts of the shooting this week of a black man. The family of 43-year-old Keith Lamont Scott was shown the footage of his fatal shooting and demanded that the police release it to the public. The Charlotte mayor signed documents last night for the citywide curfew that runs from midnight to 6 a.m. Meanwhile, US President Barack Obama urged protesters to maintain peace while still addressing concerns of racial inequality. Still to come in our news bulletin. At this time of the year, some northern migratory birds reach the governorate of Al Bahraini.
فرص كامنة تختزنها السلطنة، وقبل ذلك إرادة الإنسان الشامخة وتطلعاته لغد أفضل. وفي المقابل تبرز التحديات الماثلة أمامنا. إنها تحديات نعرفها جميعاً، نتشارك الحديث عنها باستمرار. فكيف ننتقل من مجرد النقاش والتوافق إلى التنفيذ؟ وكيف نحول الأفكار المبتكرة إلى مشروعات ذات أثر ملموس؟ البرنامج الوطني لتعزيز التنويع الاقتصادي، تنفيذ.
Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman Television. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia celebrates today the 86th National Day, which marks the kingdom's launch as a modern nation by King Abdul Aziz Al Saud. Custodian of the 2 holy mosques, King Salman bin Abdul Aziz Al Saud continues to reform projects which include education, judiciary and economy. On the political front, the kingdom has maintained the same approach outlined by its founder, late King Abdul Aziz Al Saud. The approach, which is based on modernization, balance, wisdom and farsightedness, is based on the foundation laid by the founder, namely the true Islamic teachings. On the humanitarian front, the kingdom continued the humanitarian work. The custodian of the 2 holy mosques, King Salman, announced establishing a center for humanitarian and relief work in Riyadh. Saudi Arabia has witnessed major developments, achievements that include the different economic, education, health, social, transport, industry, electricity, water, and also the agriculture sectors. Oman oil price November delivery reached $44 and 22 cents. Dubai Mercantile Exchange today said that the price of Oman oil declined 17 cents from the price of yesterday, which was $44.37. The average price of Oman oil, October 2016 delivery, has stabilized at $44.02, thus 62 cents per barrel higher than September 2016 delivery. Abdullah al-Hanai, a citizen from Al-Kur Mountains in the Walaya of Bala, in the Governorate of Dakhliya, started in 1986 his hobby of collecting various types of rocks and fossils. Within the period of 30 years, Abdullah al-Hanai collected around 500 rocks with the engravings of animals and various types of carvings. He looks forward to get support from bodies concerned to improve his hobby and exhibit what he has collected to the tourists and visitors. Various governorates of the Sultanate witness during this period of the year the arrival of various types of migratory birds. A large number of migrant birds from the northern countries of the world reached in the Governorate of Al-Bahraimi. The Director of Environment and Climate Affairs in the Governorate of Al-Bahraimi exerted much efforts to provide suitable environments for the birds. These birds will stay in the Sultanate until the end of April and then will go back to their home country. Such birds include roller birds, heron bluetail, bee-eaters, and other shorebirds. And now for the general weather forecast around the Sultanate. Partly cloudy skies will prevail over the coastal areas of the Governorate of Dhofar with chances of intermittent drizzle. The rest of the Sultanate will have clear skies with cloud accumulation and scattered rainfall over the Hajar Mountains. Winds will be easterly to northeasterly light to moderate over the coast of the Sea of Oman, whilst on the rest of the coast it will be southeasterly to southerly light to moderate. Seas will be moderate along the coast of the Arabian Sea with a maximum wave height of 2.5 meters, and slight along the coast of the Sea of Oman with a maximum wave height of 1.25 meters. This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. His Excellency the Minister responsible for Foreign Affairs meets Syrian opposition delegation in New York within the Sultanate's quest for the settlement of Syrian crisis. Washington and Moscow fail to achieve resumption of truce in Syria, whilst airstrikes continue in Aleppo. And the Charlotte mayor enacts a curfew and members of the National Guard arrive to guard the city. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the newsrooms and the studio, it's good night.